What's going on, Playdate community? Welcome back to another tutorial with me, Franchovy. And in this one, we're going to be adding some fancy little particles to our game, just to add a little bit of... Okay, I'm going to restart that. Now, let's check into where we were at. By the way, I've got Buggy here, and I'm able to play the game using the crank. If you guys don't know how to use that, just connect up the device with a USB-C cable to your computer, and you can see in the simulator that it detects that the device is connected. And you can just press right here, use device as controller, in order to basically use the crank, and it just feels a lot better than using the simulator. What we're going to do in this episode, we're going to add some particles to the movement of this little spaceship, because if you guys don't know already, spaceships in space need to actually throw something out. It's Newton's third law in order to move. So we're going to add some little particles to the back of this thing, and that's going to teach us a lot about how to use image tables. So let's get right into it. I've prepared a little asset for this tutorial, which is basically just an emitting particles animation. So you can see that like these particles are coming out the right side here, they're slowly coming out, they're getting launched, and then the animation ends. I use this using PixelFX Designer. If you guys don't know that, it's quite good. It's a good tool. I'm a total noob at it. I can't make anything complicated, but I managed to get this out. And and you guys just feel free to find that in the resources down below. So what is an image table? So here we're looking at the SDK documentation for Playdate, and we're looking at image tables. So what they tell us is that an image table is basically a PNG file where you have a bunch of different frames that represent the same graphic. So here you're seeing that the naming of these files uses whatever your name of image table is, dash table, dash the width, dash the height in pixels. And so what we're going to see is that here we've got particles dash table dash 50 dash 40. So that means that particles is the name of our image, and we've got a 50 by 40, can't get it exact, something like that, image table that is repeated. I think here it's 7 by 7, so not exactly, because there's other frames that aren't being used. So we're going to go ahead and drag and drop this into our project. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in the assets folder, and just for usefulness, I'm going to create a file called assets.lua. So I'm going to create in the source directory, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this table called assets, open brackets, and I'm going to create the first one called particles. So just write particles, no brackets, equals, and in parentheses, particles. Now, the Playdate SDK is smart enough to know that you're referring to an image table if you're trying to load an image table, and it knows to look for a PNG if you're loading a PNG. So just have to write particles and you're good. And we're actually going to also do this with ship, just for cleanliness. And I'm going to go show you guys how to use this. So assets is now a table that defines all the files inside the assets folder. We're going to import it in main.lua. So import open quotes assets. I'm going to put it before sprites. And then if you go to player, you can see that we're creating an image using assets/ship. We can now turn that into, without quotes, assets.ship. So restart, make sure that works, and our ship is gone. I think that's because I didn't put the path. Yes, so we should, inside the assets file, you need to do ship equals, open quotes, assets/ship, because I forgot to put the path to the folder of assets. So there we go, ship is back, all good. So let's create a file called particles.lua. Particles.lua. We're gonna start as usual, you guys know the drill, local gfx open brackets const equals playdate.graphics. And then we're going to create a class for our particles. So we're going to do class, open brackets, quotes, particles with a capital P because it's a class, dot extends, open brackets, gfx dot sprite. So here we're going to create an image table. So we're going to do local, and we're going to call this image table, nice and originally, equals gfx.imageTable, and here there's no capital T, so it's just image table all in lowercase, .new, and we're going to give it the path that we imported previously. So assets.particles. There you go. So this image table is automatically going to read the name of the file and create basically as many images as is needed based on the size of that entire file. So we want to make sure that that initialization goes well. What we can do is image in the local image table, you can do comma, bear with me guys, image table, comma, message, and then in the next line we're going to do assert with just 2 S's, open brackets, image table, and message. Now if you run this, and sorry, I forgot one thing, we need to import particles. So let's go to sprites.lua, do import sprites/particles. So run this, and if we don't have a message, that means that everything went well. Particles was created. Let's say that we made a mistake here, and that particles is not existing file. Okay, with a grammar error too. Then you see that an exception occurs at the assert. No exception happens here, image table, because it's nil. Basically, Playdate returns nil without telling us a problem. However, it gives us a message about why the other one is nil. So this is kind of classic Lua syntax for error handling. So you can leave that assert there if you want to. I'm going to leave it there just because, you know, who knows, maybe one day we'll change the file and we'll make a mistake. So first thing we're going to do, so let's move this stuff above class, and let's create the particles :init function. So function particles :init, and in the init function, we're going to do self.index equals 1. So this is going to be the index of the image that we're currently showing in this particles image table. And sorry, we also have to create the super class where we have to initialize the super. So we're going to do first line of particles.init, we're going to do particles with a capital P .super.init, and we're going to pass in self. And then at the bottom of that init function that we're in right now, we're going to do self.setImage, and I know we can pass this to the parent constructor, but whatever. Self.set::setImage, image table, open square brackets, and we're going to do self.index. So we can run this, but we're not going to see a particle because we've created the class, but we haven't done anything about this class. So let's go to main.lua, and similar to how we created the player, let's create this particle sprite. Local particles equals particles. So lowercase for the name of the instance, uppercase for the name of the class. Inside the init function in main.lua, we're going to do particles: add, and I think we should be good. Let's try it out. So we don't really know if that worked or not. The reason is because the particles is probably up at the top left. So let's just move it to another spot. So let's do self: move to, and put it in the middle of the screen. So 200, 120. And so put that after the super init function, or else it's not going to work. And we're going to hit play again. And again, we don't really know if this particles file is actually loading and on screen. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, so we're going to do this the clean way. Take this image table self.index, and we're going to put it in the constructor for the super as the second argument. So after self, we're going to do comma, and then image table, square brackets, self.index. Now, what this does is that it initializes the sprite with this image. That way we know that the sprite is going to be the size of the image, and there's no risk there that we're creating a sprite without that image. And again, we don't know if this is doing anything. So let's move on. We're going to create the update function for particles. So we're going to do function particles colon update and then end. And inside this one, we're basically going to rotate around the entire animation using the index, and we're going to reset it back to 0 every time the animation finishes. So pretty bare bones, but let's run with it. If self.index is less than, and here, hashtag everybody, image table. So this gives you the size of the image table, and you can find all of this. You can find all of this inside SDK documentation. Like get length is the same as hashtag image table, and get image n is the same as doing square brackets n. So nice and convenient. So back to the code. If self.index is less than hashtag image table, then we're going to do self.index plus equals 1. Then we're going to say else self.index equals 1, and then end. So this is going to rotate through the indexes, and there's one thing that we're forgetting here, which is to actually set the image once it's changed. So self colon set image, and here we're going to say image table brackets, square brackets, self.index. All right, and now we should be looping through this animation, and we should see it on the screen. Let's hit play. There we go. You can see it. It's looping right there. Perfect, guys. Good job, everybody, if you've made it this far. I know that we lost about half the people, according to YouTube stats. So you guys are the survivors. Congratulations. So that's it. Tune in to the next one in case this is already too long. And so see you guys.